Welcome and good afternoon to you guys. Today is our first episode of our Candid Talk, and we have with us an expert who's going to talk to you about PQ. And if you ever wonder what PQ is, think of the word politics. Right? Politics goes on and on and on, regardless of what it is. It happens in the office, and it happens even in a country. Right? So today we have an expert. So let me introduce to you the people here in this panel. As you can see, there is Isaac, of course. Isaac is an expert he's a specialist basically in social media. He helps me with making me do a lot of videos, to put on my YouTube and my other channels. So he's been helping me in terms of marketing. He himself has a master's in the areas of IT. So he's well versed with those kind of areas. The handsome gentleman with us today is Raj, and Raj is the PQ expert. So gentlemen, welcome and thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk a lot more about politics, but not politics of the country, more so of politics in the office. Right, gentlemen?
Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you. All right, Raj, now, I personally know a lot about EQ and IQ. I've done a lot of programs in EQ and IQ. And I've heard of PQ, but not political quotient, more of positive quotient, in the sense that people should be more positive and whatnot, right? But you're talking about political quotient. Now, share with us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and what makes you an expert of this?
All right, thank you, Tino, for the nice introduction, and Isaac, glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Well, if it was called positive quotient, that really takes me by surprise, because while positive is over here and politics in the extreme end of the whole, pendulum. I've been with Intel for 18 years, Isaac and Tino. And in my 18 years, I, went up ascended the whole management ladder from being an engineer all the way to be a middle manager, people manager, and then towards a department, head of department as a HOD. That's when I decided that, it's been too long in the corporate world. I took a break and decided to take a voluntary separation program package, left Intel, and then decided to pursue my own career, sharing the enormous amount of knowledge and experience that I gained to the people at large. I also had the gift, shall I say, to be a resident consultant in a small Malaysian oil and base company. That allowed me to really understand, embrace, and see how an SME operates. And then you can see the complete contrast between a multinational company that has about 8,000 employees worldwide to an SME that's 30 employees there. So what I realized, or what struck me most, was the fact that the more layers of management you have, the more that the chain of command is actually diluted. And when the chain of command is diluted because of multiple layers of leadership and management echelon, if you will, what happens next is the amount of resources available becomes thinner and leaner, and as a result, everybody has to fight for it. And the fight to secure the resources, acquiring the power, getting the right kind of decisions that's beneficial to you, ends up initially being objective. If it's fair, it's objective, but when it becomes lean and little, it becomes a competition. And that competition along the way evolved from just competing to get something to do and deliver to competing to get the resources to acquire power, to move up the management ladder to the leadership level. And that is why I guess the whole thing sort of a switch from a positive quotient to a political quotient, if you will. Tino.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So 18 years in Intel. So
yes.
I'm sure you have in the country, in terms of country terms, you'll probably be prime minister by now. Because you have earned a lot of years of experience in politics. But I totally agree with you, and I totally understand where you're coming from. It is not an easy thing to do. having to learn to manage the resources that is available to you, and also understand who your competitions are within the organization, because there's only so many positions in an organization, right? And everybody's fighting for it. So you got to know how to actually win your battles in order for you to win the war, right? I don't know whether I said it right, but I think that's basically it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you summarized it very well. I would probably add on to that by saying that a lot of people think that the organization is fair. So if you move up from engineer executive level to a senior to a manager level and still believe that the organization is going to be fair to you because you're fair to the organization, you're being foolish.
Right.
It is like equally hoping that the lion doesn't eat you because you don't eat him. Right? So you have to realize that the resources are lean, and it becomes a pyramid as you go up. Then it becomes more competitive. And what I wanted to say just before I hand over to you, Tino, is people think that competition is bad, but through companies that wants to perform and wants to look for breakthrough performance, they encourage competition. They encourage a competition in such a way that it promotes creativity and innovation and really brings the real quality out of you. So it is a positive notion, the whole political quotient, and hopefully I can enlighten that in the subsequent hours to come.
Okay. Yeah. And we don't think about it because we have been taught many a times and been told many a times that we have to learn to build relationship with people. I'm sure you have attended a lot of training programs in the areas of leadership. Isaac, you would have heard or read a lot of authors that's telling that we need to build relationship. And I myself am an advocate of that. We learn to build relationship. But then comes in this curveball that is thrown by Raj on political quotient. Now it gets my mind thinking. How much of EQ should we have and how much of PQ should we have? So Raj, help us to understand what is the balance of that?
Tino, I'm glad you asked that question because I was about to give a mathematical formula to this whole conversation. So, we are talking about management, Tino and Isaac, and let's call management as an MQ, management quotient. So the MQ, management quotient, is nothing but a combination of IQ plus EQ plus PQ. And you hit it right. As an executive and as an engineer, you do less of management job. So as a result, what do you need to do? You amplify your IQ, your skills and knowledge that you use to deliver a good quality job. And of course, in the process, you're dealing with people, you need to sharpen your EQ to make sure relationship part is well and good. So that's at an executive, at an entry level. Now, imagine you're moving slowly towards a young manager, young supervisor. You're starting to manage people, manage resources. Now you need to amplify your EQ because you need to not only manage your people, but secure and manage the resources that's available in an organization, right? So your IQ is still being used to coach your people, but you need to increase your EQ as you manage your people, you manage resources, and most importantly, you manage your emotion and people's emotion. That's where EQ kicks in quite strongly, the amplification switches, right? And then as you move away a little bit towards a manager's role, a leader's role, then that's where the PQ element really kicks in, because at that level you cannot be talking about I am nice, I have a very good interpersonal skill, I've got good network, I'm nice to people, I have some knowledge on the area and I hope to do well. No, at that juncture you need to acquire power, you need to acquire resources, you need to think strategy, you need to think about making critical decisions, you need to know when to be reasonable and when to argue like a lawyer till the end to hold your ground. So that's where the PQ element kicks in. So if I were to summarize it, at the early stage, it's a lot more of IQ and EQ. And as you go towards your managerial role in your organization, it switches from just IQ, EQ to EQ and more of PQ.
Okay. I looked at it in this way as well. because a lot of employees down the line and while coming up as well, they've been told that power struggle is harmful. It's harmful. So instead of looking at it like something to strive on and build on, they try to avoid it. What would you say to such employees? Because they're looking at it in the negative aspect. Now, the way you're bringing it now, this is a different aspect totally from the view that a lot of employees have taught power struggle to be like.
Yeah, sorry, Raj, before you answer, I just want to add on a little bit more to what Isaac is saying. And I think it's very true. Now, just reflecting back into my early years in my career, I've seen people rise to the top very fast like that. And I keep thinking that they actually have very good EQ. They manage to, well, excuse my French, but suck up to the boss, so-called. And I thought that was EQ. Now, thinking back, that's not EQ.
That's not EQ.
That's not EQ. That's exactly what Raj is saying. It's PQ, political quotient. Right?
That's true, Dino.
Yeah.
And let me address what Isaac brought up earlier. Yes, Isaac, you are right. It is called what? A power struggle. You know, whether we like it or not, the reality, the grim reality is politics happens whether you like it or not, everywhere and anywhere, right? And the idea that I don't want to play politics, I don't want to go that doldrums of negativity. Fine, you can do that. You can choose not to go there. Just focus on your area and your focus and your skills and deliver. You can survive, but remember, along the day, you will become the doormat to the others who decides to play that game. So if you feel years down the road, your peer has already gone up the management ladder, he seemed to be getting things right, getting the promotion, getting the rewards, getting the resources, getting the recognition, position to take up new department. He could be as good as you or even not as good as you technically, IQ-wise, but because he has built that network and that connection and decided to take it upon himself that I know as I go up the management ladder, it's becoming a pyramid. Everything is scarce in terms of resources and whatnot, budget. So we need to fight for it. We need to justify for it. So in a one-liner, Isaac, the political struggle happens whether we like it or not. If we don't want to go there, it's perfectly fine. But remember, you will be left behind in the rat race. Having said that, I want to then go to Tino. Tino, you brought up a good follow-up question. You've seen people rise fast, and yes, and I used to think that too. I think that this is purely EQ, their interrelationship, their relationship, their networking. Then I realized that, with relationship and networking, there's so much you can do. But you have a good boss, or rather, you have a boss that you can suck up to and do very well, and he's happy to choose you or give you the inside information and put you in the right position to take up a particular project or whatever. But guess, you have the style, and that's what I call a balance between style and substance. You have the style to actually steal the thunder and be in the right position to get the right opportunity. But if you cannot deliver, that's where the substance comes in. If you cannot deliver and do a good job in that project, you're going to falter really, really, really far down. So the element of substance of delivering the project, not just winning it by becoming smart, becoming the one who speaks out loud, is where the shift, from EQ to PQ comes in. So you have good relationship, but then using the relationship, you acquire the position, the power, and what you need to do. After that, how do you execute? Because in the real world, even though you've been chosen to do it, you are going to deliver the results and the project not through the people who report to you directly. Now we live in a world where we have to work through people who do not report to us directly. We need to share resources, right?
That's right.
And when you realize that limitation kicks in, then you need to start fighting the battle like a political party. And that's where you need to start to, decide on taking charge and taking control. Where do you want to take this department? How do you decide that You need to embrace ambiguity and swim through ambiguity and get things done. How do you decide to be selectively unreasonable depending on the situation, the meetings, and the person you're dealing with? How do you master your skill that when you bump into your vice president in the lift, in that 30 seconds between the ground floor to the fifth floor, instead of talking about the weather and the traffic and burn and blow the opportunity, how can you plant a big idea in him saying that you have this thing in mind you want to work on? In that 30 seconds, that idea may not be something that's really going to be materialized down the road. But guess what? That vice president will remember you, because you're the only few who decided to talk about work and strategic and align something to the vision of the organization instead of talking about the traffic and the weather. And that skill of sharpening those skills of saying the right thing at the right time, taking control and being able to sell the right idea right time is beyond EQ. That's where the whole element of political quotient comes in.
Right. Anyway, they call that an elevator pitch, where you have only a few seconds to pitch something to your sort of CEO and make them remember you, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Raj,
yeah.
I personally now just hearing what you say, and again, it's also based on experience. It's I suppose the mind to balance that with your values sometimes, whether this sits with the person's value or no. Should I be playing politics? Like what Isaac says, some people just say, I don't like doing this kind of things. And you are saying you don't have a choice. As you move up in the organization, it becomes a part of you, right? Now, if we put in the third element of value into the whole entire conversation, it sort of gives it a very different spin to it, doesn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. Tino, that's an excellent question. That's something that I deliberated a lot when I started this. I may have not stated this earlier. Political quotient is not about backstabbing, backslandering, bluffing, or cheating. It's not. That is outright bad, negative, morally low ground. Here, the element of political quotient here is talking about intelligence, being competitive, being strategic, recognizing that resources are limited and I need to fight this game to win it. I always tell people this, a PQ manager will always use facts and data, just like how lawyers will use evidence to win their case. Right? It is not to illuminate the truth. You do not just to let the whole world know the truth. That's not the objective. The objective is to win your case, and you use facts and data and resources and people and network and contacts and your skill and your style, whatever not, to win your case, to position yourself to be a capable leader. And that's where the element of style comes in, and then you get the reward, you get the project, and after that, are you going to be sitting idle doing nothing once you got the reward? No, you need to deliver results for the company. And when you deliver results for the company in that position using your PQ power, you are delivering value. You are delivering monetary gain to the organization. You are expanding, revenue and whatnot. You are creating jobs for people to join. So you have actually gone beyond your ordinary, what you call conditioned mind. And because of the competition, you've gone beyond that and decided to actually stick out and do something different. You became innovative and creative in the process. Yes, along the way, you may have made some enemies in the process, but that is part and parcel of the game.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Then it makes a lot more sense to me now. It makes a lot more sense. So we will always have those who will use that as an opportunity to climb the corporate ladder, but those people who are empty vessels make the most noise kind of people, right?
Yeah.
Then I suppose they fall, and they also fall a lot harder. Yeah. But here is something. What you're saying is political quotient is not just about playing politics. It's about mastering the game, knowing what are the resources available to you, know what your IQ is, know how to play with your EQ, and at the same time know how to practice this PQ so that people take notice of you. In that sense.
And that's why the formula is somewhat crafted is MQ. Management quotient is what IQ plus EQ and plus PQ. So the differentiator, I think, is the PQ element that's strategic. And if you are to embrace, understand, and practice what I call the 10 PQ power principles, you are then able to harness the resources, the energy, and as well as the power that's available in organization, and allow you to notch your way up towards a strategic and a capable leader to deliver results.
You mentioned 10 PQ powers or power principles. Something you mentioned that, right, Raj?
Yeah,
10 PQ power principles, right? Okay. Tell us what is this interesting 10 PQ powers that you're talking about?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a flamboyant name for the 10 PQ power principles. So, and in that discussion, the last 20 minutes or so, we already touched a few. When I say take charge and take control, that is a PQ power principle. And why that comes first, Tino and Isaac, is because of this. I've seen countless occasions where engineers and executives, when they go up the career ladder from just doing to leading and supervising, they bring along with them this mentality that I call it a destructive mentality. You know what that is? That mentality that I just continue doing what I need to do, my boss will take care of everything. That mentality that I just need to supervise my people, make sure they have their key tasks and job description, and I monitor with some KPIs. I do what I need to do, and beyond that, wherever I need to do, I just do the reporting and updating. And in terms of direction, I ask my boss, and I believe my boss will know what I and my people are doing as a result. That mentality.
Raj, sorry, Raj, I don't mean to interrupt, but that's what we have been taught. That's what we have learned when we went into the corporate world. Put your head down, do what the boss tells you to do, and let the boss take care of everything else. And now you're saying that's not the case.
That's not the case when you're moving up the management ladder. Because if you are an executor, a doer, an engineer at that level, that's good enough, you know. But the minute you become a people supervisor, if you still think that I just do my job as a supervisor, I get my people to do what they need to do, my accomplishment, my deliverables, and my people's deliverables, my boss knows. That's where you're wrong, because your boss, who probably be a HOD or a department leader, may have so many people and so many things he need to look into. So he will not have time to know the micro details. And that's where you as a manager need to take charge and take control, not wait for your manager to tell you where you need to bring your group or your department to. That's the time you need to decide, okay, the vision of this whole company is so and so. The vision of my manager and my department is this. What do I need to do? What do I and my people need to strategically deliver to align and meet that vision? That's what taking charge and taking control. In the reality is, many young leaders don't do that. They just wait for the boss to tell them what to do. And that's where the mistake is. The mentality. I always believe the mentality is wrong. Right? So when you do that, and let's just take a comparison. Let's say you are the person like what you mentioned. I just go do. I'm just an executor. Even though I'm leading people, I'm a manager, but I'm just executing. And you have another person who's not only executing, that person is already starting to look at, who else are the group leaders, managers in this whole organization? Who is good in what? What am I good at that others don't have? How can I shine? How can I take my group to be on the spotlight versus other group and the department? You see that thinking? That thinking is what we call taking charge and taking control, the first PQ. When you do that, you are no more waiting. You are proactive, you are doing. And your job is to execute, do, and tell your boss, job is done. We are going to meet the numbers, and then I'll take care of everything else. Wow.
Interesting. Very interesting.
In that case, why dealing with that? What about the fear of breaking boundaries?
Yeah,
fear of breaking boundaries. Yeah, that's an interesting question, Isaac. Let me
because you're dealing with managers now. So if you're dealing with managers or supervisors who are taking care of employees or team leaders, What about the fear of breaking boundaries?
You know, in leadership or in the management arena from 50, 60, 70 years ago, Isaac, it has always been a control and command based. A leader has control, gives the command, and the downline will execute using his soldiers many levels below. But the whole management principle has evolved, Isaac, from control and command. You know, in the last 50 years or so, there's been two revolutions in management. One is technology, and the other one is the way you react and behave as a leader. So your role as a leader has changed from you having full power, control, and command to you having to work through joint resources available. Right? The minute you see joint resources available, Isaac, so it's no more about what's allocated to you. It is about what you fight for to get. And
So
that's
boundaries now.
Exactly. That's where the boundaries are just removed, and it becomes that, okay, guys, we have this pool of resources. There's 5 of you head of departments. We need to accomplish this. Take it and run with it. Do the best you can. You know. So when that boundary is broken, it's wide open. That's where those managers who are PQ centric will know that I need to be proactive. I need to take charge. I need to take control. I need to decide how much resources I need. I need to make my stand very clear, and I will always negotiate something in return, even though if I have to concede something. Now that's PQ power.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, interesting. Raj, I know you have 9 more PQ power principles to go through. Now, of course, we're running a little bit out of time. I would like to invite you, Raj, to come in on a weekly basis and give us this 1 PQ per week. Would you be willing to help us out?
Well, of course, I'll be very happy to do it, Tino and Isaac. I guess the only challenge is, you guys brought up the challenge earlier. The way PQ is coined, political quotient, is so negative in nature. And we end up talking about, isn't it bad? Is it against our values? Are we fighting for resources? We are breaking ranks, breaking boundaries. So I guess, I think it is more important now that this topic is being discussed on a 1 topic per week basis, so that people get clarity that office politics are not necessarily negative and bad.
Yeah, I agree. It's just that we have been taught that it's not a good thing. But you have brought a totally different perspective altogether. Your point of view in terms of political quotient, and I can see now that it's not in the aspects of negative. It's more about how do we actually get ourselves to be aligned with other people and for the benefit of the organization. I think in all sense, politics, the word is about governing the country itself, making sure that everybody is well taken care of and all this. So you're coming, your view is from that perspective.
Yep.
Yeah. And it would be great to have you on a weekly basis to talk about each principles and how we can actually apply it back at the workplace. I think people now can understand what political quotient is. The next question is, how do I learn it? How do I apply it? What are the 10 principles?
Yep. Certainly, I think we should get that rolling, so that first we eliminate this negative perception about this very potential important skill sets. And number 2, really, I think managers now and young leaders need to embrace some of these power principles, so that they recognize that it is no more about tell me what to do, I will do, but rather let me look at what's available out there and how can I position myself to do it so that it's aligned to the company's bottom line, and in the process create a win-win situation. I become a person who accomplishes something, and I deliver results to the company where the company wins in the process as well.
Yes. So
Amazing.
good. So we do have your agreement, right, Raj?
Violent agreement.
Yeah, sorry, violent agreement. There we go.
Violent agreement. Yeah.
So if I don't chase you, Isaac is going to be chasing you, getting you to do a video. Perhaps maybe if we get a lot of likes and a lot of comments, we may even run a live session. We can do this candid talk once a week.
Yeah.
Isaac, what do you think? Isaac?
The questions, yes, it depends on the questions that will be coming from the audience as well, and those that are watching this video as well online and on various platforms. So because they are the real employees, they are also in the working system and in the workplace, so they know what they are facing, their targets, they know their targets, the targets they've set for themselves, how to move up the ladder, going up the pyramid. So
yeah,
it depends on the question coming from them. Then we will see how far we will go and the level of engagement we're going to place with them to go on live sections, various live sections with them, and then how to engage them either personally as well. So it depends on what they say to us back.
Okay, wonderful. Raj, thank you so much for your time today. I know it's half an hour or so already. It went off very fast because you were telling us a lot of interesting things. We definitely want to invite you back to talk a little bit more about some of your own experience in PQ in your workplace and even in this company that you work for a short period of time. Share with us some of your really PQ experience, maybe through the 10 principles you can share with us, and that will be making it very, very interesting for us. Yeah.
I look forward to that, Tino and Isaac. And I wanted to end this session with one story, or rather probably a very short story. If people ask what is PQ all about, from a quotation perspective, it's like this. What you know is IQ, who you know is EQ, and who knows you is PQ. Right?
Amazing.
So that's how I'll summarize it. And if it's in a story form, I remember reading this somewhere and I thought this is very applicable. Two guys were actually hiking up or trekking up a jungle, and suddenly they hear a roaring sound of a lion at the back. One of the guy stops, takes his knapsack or backpack and starts to put on his running shoes. The other friend says, "Hey, what are you doing? There's no way you're gonna outrun the lion." And this guy says, "I do not have to outrun the lion. I just need to outrun you." That's predatory thinking, and that's political quotient. Thank you, guys.
Amazing.
Okay. You know what, Raj? I'm going to put on my running shoes and I'm going to outrun you.
That's amazing.
Well said. Well said. Thank you so much, Raj. And we look forward to the next session of Candid Talk. Certainly. Right?
Let's do it.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending the time with us. Well, like I said, this is the first session of our Candid Talk. Look forward for more of our Candid Talk coming up next week. Yeah. So like always, what I do and what I say is stay safe. Peace out. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.